Welcome to third form, lesson 22. This is the imperfect subjunctive, active and passive. Let's begin with a prayer. Dominic, could you please lead us?
Em nome de Patris, Filii et Sancti, Amen. Maria, gratia plena, tecum,
Santa Maria Mater Dei, ora pro nobis
nunc et in hora mortis nostre.
in nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. All right, let's newer stuff to review. Let's great. All right, so ready? Present subjunctive, active and passive. So amen, amatus, ament, moniam, monias, moniat, monios, moniatus, moniat, regam, capiam, capiat, audiam, all right, passive. Amer, ameris, ameritor, amemor, amemini, amentor. Moniar, moniaris, moniator, dar, damor, regan, capiar, all right, guys. Let's do our Latin sing. Again, if you need some review help, turn over to page 106. So the first one, Kevin, I think, therefore I am.
Puto.
Cogito.
Cogito ergo sum.
Yes, and again, if you need review help, just flip over to page 106. So, Dominic, hear, O Israel.
Howdy, Israel.
Anthony, take up and read.
Tole et lege.
Kevin, the die is cast. So, alia, yacta, est. Alia, yacta, est. Good. Dominic, it is finished.
Consummatum est.
Good. Anthony, do what you're doing.
Agi quod agis.
Kevin, love conquers all.
Amor vincit omnia.
Excellent. All right, Dominic, another self.
Alter ego.
Anthony, rational man.
Homo sapiens.
Kevin, faith, hope, and love. These three.
Face, space, caritas, triahic.
Very good. Triahic. Dominic, day of wrath, that day.
Dies irae, dies illa.
Yes. And Anthony, knowledge itself is power.
Ipsa scientia potestas est.
Very good. Kevin, in itself.
Hearsay.
Dominic, let the buyer beware.
Avea emptor.
And Anthony, hallowed be thy name.
Scientific renomen tuum.
Yes.
Sanctific.
Sanctificator. See, so just break it up. Sanctificator nomen tuum. So just break it up. All right. Well, let's flip back over to page 70 and let's go over our Latin saying for today. It is requiescat in pace. So rest, R.I.P. It actually does not stand for, a lot of people think it stands for, R.I.P. stands for rest in peace, but it actually stands for this Latin saying, requiescat in pace. So may he rest in peace. So obviously, requiesco, era. It's a verb meaning to rest in. That's your preposition with the ablative. And then pax patris, that's your noun meaning peace. Obviously, patri is in the ablative singular. So obviously this beautiful prayer is from the Mass of the Dead. And it's the final prayer for the departed. And commonly you'll see nowadays they'll just do, instead of the whole Latin saying RIP on the tombstone. So it's become a common acronym for death. All right. So go ahead and open to page 70. And again, if you haven't opened your workbook, also open it to page 166 so that you're ready to start answering some of those grammar questions there on page 166. All right. So I'll give you a couple seconds to do that. And now, Dominic, what is the essential difference between the indicative and the subjunctive? In other words, how do you distinguish between the indicative mood and the subjunctive mood? What is each used for? So,
The indicative activity that is actual and takes place in the real world. And subjunctive activity that is potential, existing in the imagination.
good, exactly right. So indicative is for real actions, subjunctive is for potential actions. So again, we really need to stress that so that you can tell just by looking at a verb if it's going to be in English. Oh, I need to translate that in the indicative mood, or that's a potential action. I need to use the subjunctive for this one. All right, Anthony, what two uses have we learned in this unit so far? So what are the two uses?
Deliberative and hortatory.
Exactly. Deliberative questions. Hortatory. Okay. Kevin, what are some English helping verbs that express the subjunctive in English?
I, you, he, she, it.
Well, but they're helping verbs. There are helping verbs in Latin. So if you flip back, we learned this a couple lessons ago. So if you look over on page 64, I believe, you'll see bullet point 3, where it says, here are some common helping verbs that we use in English, which points to the subjunctive in Latin.
Oh, so it's let, may, might.
Very good. Should, would, and could. Put my commas in here. All right. So how many tenses does the subjunctive have, Dominic?
4.
4. And which ones are missing?
The future and future perfect.
That's right. There is no future and future perfect for the subjunctive. Okay. So this is good because today that means less to learn, right? So we've already learned the present. Now we're learning the imperfect. So that leaves us how many more to go?
2.
2.
2. So you're halfway through, right? So let's get on to studying that imperfect. So how would we form, based on studying those charts at the top, that first chart, how would we form, how does it look like we're forming that subjunctive, imperfect subjunctive active? Well, obviously you have your stem, like for example, amarem, amares, amaret, amaremus. So we have our
You
stem.
change or add a stem vowel.
Okay, well, that's the AM, I'll give you a hint, is the stem. And then where do you see that if you chop off just the M at the end, what is amare?
It's the infinitive.
It is the infinitive, exactly. So it's the verb's infinitive plus what? Well, just the regular active personal endings, right? Because the endings are all the same. M-S-T, mus-tis, N-T. But look, see, for moneo, it's monere, regare, capere, and audire. You guys see that? So it's just for the imperfect subjunctive active, it's just the verb's infinitive, and then you just add the ending. So keeping that in mind, let's go ahead and let's conjugate all 5 of these model verbs in that imperfect subjunctive active. So amarem, go ahead and say it with me.
Amares.
Amaret.
Amaret. Amaremus. Amaritus. Amarent.
And so here we go. So monerem.
Monerate.
Okay.
Moneremus. Moneratus. Monerent.
Right, and then I'm going to have Kevin go ahead and do this one for me.
Regeram, Regeres, Regerate, Regerimus, Regeratus, Regerate,
Good. And Dominic, the third IO.
Copperim, copperace, copperate, copperamus, copperatus, copperant.
Good. And Anthony, the fourth here.
Audiorem. Audiorace. Audiorate. Audioremus. Audioratus. Audiorent.
Here we go. All right. So this is pretty easy, right? For how to do it in the imperfect subjunctive active. Now let's look at that second chart, that imperfect subjunctive passive. Okay. Now how are we forming this?
We're just adding the passive ending.
Same way, except it's using
Right. So again,
passive endings.
right. So we're going to the verb infinitive plus the passive endings. Passive personal endings. So pretty simple. All right. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to have Kevin help me out, which, you know what? I am just going to, hopefully this will work. Okay. And I'm just going to change them. See? And I'm going to have Kevin go ahead and do this for me.
Amarare, Amareris, Amarator, Amarimer, Amaremini, Amarinter.
Good. All right. And I'm just going to go ahead and copy all of these, and we'll just change them over as we do it. So Dominic, go ahead and help me out with the second.
Monerare. Moneraris. Moneretrum. Monerarum. Moneramor. Moneramini. Moneram.
Mentor. Good. All right, Anthony, the third.
Rajar, or Ray,
Oh,
Rajar,
rare.
Rajaris, Rajarator, Rajaramer, Rajarate Mini, Rajarainter.
Good. All right. And Kevin, this one, please.
Copyrighter, Copyrighter, Copyrights, Copywriter, Copywriter, Copywriting, Copywriter,
Good. And Dominic, the fourth, please.
Adiram. Adirace. Adirate.
Rachel.
Rachel. Adiramor.
More.
Adiramini.
And
And Adirantor.
good. All right. So you guys see how this one works. All right. So let's look over at the top of page 71. So we've been dealing with deliberative questions. All right. Now, when you deal with a deliberative question that asks about a past event, it uses the imperfect subjunctive. So let's go back and compare it to the present subjunctive. So the present subjunctive, we would ask something like, what should I do? Or what am I to do? And you would do quid faciam, remember? See, so this is this present subjunctive. Now notice when we go to the imperfect subjunctive, quid faciarem, it's what should I have done. See, notice this past right here, have done, as opposed to the present do. See, I should do what, as opposed to I should have done what. See the difference in the tenses here. Okay, so this one clearly, the imperfect clearly indicates a past event. Okay, any questions there? No? Okay, let's move on to the vocabulary. So, Dominic, I would like for you to take the first three.
Edificium, E neuter, building. E neuter, cave. Yeah.
All right, and Anthony, the next three, please.
Mandatum E neuter, commandment, order. Otium E neuter, ease, leisure. Sepulchrum E neuter, tomb.
And then Kevin, the last four, please.
Theatrum, E neuter, theater. Triduum, E neuter, 3 days. Vitium, I neuter, vice or blemish. Votum, I E neuter, or prayer.
All right, so notice in Kevin's words right here, we have a triduum here. Now this, as Catholics, we know that this has a very special meaning for us because it refers to the Easter triduum, which is that 3-day period beginning on Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and then Holy Saturday. So that's what we refer to in the Catholic faith as the triduum, those 3 very special days. And then, of course, votum, obviously those votive candles, that's where that comes from. And, of course, one of the words that Anthony covered, the sepulcher, obviously coming from this Latin word sepulchrum. So what is the declension of all of these nouns, guys?
Second.
It is second declension. How can you tell, Kevin, that all of these are second declension?
Genitive singular, ending is I.
Exactly right. And what is the gender for all of these?
Neuter.
Yes, it is. It's neuter. Very good. So this is that second declension neuter. So, all right. So let's turn over in your book to page 172. Let's run through some of these homework sentences together. This will help out with your homework and also give you good practice in class for us to go through these together. So I'm going to give you just a little bit of time to flip over there. Okay. Is everybody there? All right. So I am going to begin with Anthony. Quid faciamus?
What?
Notice this is that subjunctive. So
What should we have done?
Exactly. Very good. Well, what should we have done or what should we have made? Okay. Yeah, because they can do I would accept done. All right. So Kevin, quid strueretur?
What should it have built?
Should have been built. Good. All right, Dominic. Quiduramus. And I believe this is a little bit of a typo because we know when we ask questions in Latin, there should be an NE here at the end, but they neglected to put that on. But anyway, go ahead and translate that.
Okay, stop it.
Where should we have started?
Well, where should we have had? Or you could say, were we to flee? That would also be acceptable. All right, Kevin, quomodo responderent? also means how, and then just deal with responder.
How should they have responded?
Yes, exactly. Very good. All right, Anthony. And again, they messed up. There should be an NE. They should probably have put the verb first, but and put an NE on it, but they didn't. So, how would we translate that? Well, make it a question, so always put that verb first. So
should he have explored?
well, should it have been explored?
Should it have been explored by the soldiers?
Yeah, exactly. Only because, again, it's kind of weird with that tour ending. You don't know whether it's going to be he or it, but obviously, if you put a he there instead of an it, it gets a little weird, or even a she. You know, obviously, it should be neuter. Obviously, and that would just be a little bit weird. All right, so Dominic, this last one. But can't be that because it's not in the accusative. Should it
Have
been dragged?
by the horse.
Yep, by horses. Because remember, this is passive we're dealing with whenever you have the tour at the end. So that's why we have to add this little bin in here. Because remember, we're dealing with passive. All right, let's skip to 11. And Kevin, can you do who should have judged?
Quiz.
Good. And then should have judged. So again, we've got the should. It's telling us that it's subjunctive. Now, is it active or passive? Well, I don't see a been, so that means that it's active. And what person is it?
Third, so judicate.
But it should have judged. Past tense. It's a past action, so that's pointing us to not the present subjunctive, but the imperfect. So
Judicator. Judicator.
Well, if it were retour, there would be a bin in here. Because bin would indicate passive. Is that okay? Let's go back and to these, and let's look at the meanings as opposed to these. So let's go ahead to the active ones for Amar and Rem. Let's do the meanings with these. So they have it as I might love, but it can also be obviously I should love, you know, any of those helping verbs that Kevin pointed out before. So remember, let, may, might, should, would, could. So we're going to do them with following the example there in the middle of page 70. But obviously, instead of might, you can substitute any of those other helping verbs. So, all right. So let's say these together. So I might love, you might love, he might love,
we might
love, you might love, they might love. Okay. And then this one. Go ahead and do this one, Dominic.
I might be loved, you might be loved.
Not be, because, because it's active.
Oh.
It's active. We're still in the active. So don't add the be. Bees, whenever you add a be in there in the English, that's pointing you to a passive. Okay?
I might warn, you might warn, he, she might warn, you might warn, they might warn.
Right, exactly. So do we see, and then when we go over here to the passive, notice the passive, that bottom chart, you know, it's I might be loved, you might be loved, etc. So again, and look over also on that translation on page 70 where they did quid facerem, okay? Notice they have the should have done, okay? Now, obviously, if that were facerere, it would be what should have been done. Obviously, you would have the been if it's passive. What should have been done. So again, no, if there's no be or been right in here, then it's active. Okay, that's a good rule of thumb. Does that make a little more sense, guys? The difference between those two? If you don't, like, we can write some out. But any questions? No? Okay. All right. So Kevin, is this clear?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know you weren't with us last week. Anthony, can you do number 12 for us, please?
Which one is it? Or is it the same thing?
No, did I write the wrong one in there?
Well, the second one you have in there is what it says in the book, but I'm just asking which. Is the other one just the same thing?
You know what? I think I typed the wrong one in. Yes, I did. Were they to remain? Should they remain?
Is it the same?
Yes, number 12.
I'm just saying, do they both mean the same?
Oh, yes, yes. I'm sorry. They do. Absolutely. Those are just two different ways to phrase it. Absolutely.
Respond rem.
Well, it would be if it
Or
were,
respondar.
but we're looking for remain.
Respondar.
We're looking for remain. So that's a form of maneo.
Oh, oops, I'm looking at the wrong one.
So
Mania rent.
very good. All right, Dominic, number 13.
Responder
Just respond to that. Good. And obviously that should probably be an any on there, but we'll just do it right now. Okay, Kevin, number 14, please.
Ducurator.
Exactly. All right, Anthony, should he have led?
Ducaret.
And last one, Dominic.
Salut. Ramos.
Yes, very good. All right, so that took some off of your homework. Let's go over this again. Some of mythology. So Jupiter, from the Zeus pater, God Father. Now, Zeus is his Greek name. He's the god of the sky and thunder. We know him. He's symbols with the thunderbolt, the eagle, the bull, the oak, and the scepter. So he's the youngest child of Kronos and Rhea. He dethroned Kronos and took his place. Now it says wife of, that's obviously a typo. We strike through that. It should say his wife is Juno. And then his siblings are Vesta, Pluto, Juno, Neptune, Ceres, and he has just a whole bunch of children. These are all his children down here. All right, so now Juno, her Greek name is Hera. She has symbols of the cow and the peacock, okay? Her nature is very jealous and vengeful, but probably because Jupiter's always cheating on her. She is the daughter of Kronos and Rhea. She's the wife and sister of Jupiter. I know, weird. And then she has some children, Mars and Vulcan. Then we have Neptune, whose Greek name is Poseidon. His symbol is the trident. He is the god of what? He's usually associated with the sea, water. So he's the brother of Jupiter and Pluto, and obviously Juno as well. Then we have Pluto. He's the god of the underworld, the dead. His Greek name is Hades. And he is the guy who, in the famous Greek myth, abducted Persephone, who's the daughter of Ceres, and became his wife. He's the son of Kronos. Also, obviously, brother of Jupiter and Juno and Neptune. And then we have Minerva. Her Greek name is Athena. She's the goddess of wisdom, war, and for some reason, weaving and crafts. Not sure how defensive war and weaving and crafts all go together, but there you have it. Her symbols are the owl. Now, she's often depicted with a helmet and a shield and spear because you guys know the story about how she was, quote, born, right? Which is namely, one day Jupiter had a really bad headache, and so he had one of his fellow gods split his head open, and out jumps Minerva, Athena, fully grown out of Jupiter's head. So kind of a strange story, but she was the cause of his headache. All right, then we have Apollo. Greek name is also Apollo. Apollo, the god of light and sun, truth, prophecy, healing, music. So he has a whole bunch of symbols there. Namely, a bow and a quiver of arrows, the harp, the laurel wreath, etc. So he's known to be handsome, and he is the son of Jupiter, and he's the twin brother of Diana. So Diana and Apollo are twin brothers. All right. Now, the quiz this week is going to be one of your shorter tests. And all you have to do is know the vocabulary on page 71. So just those 10 or so words. You need to be able to conjugate any verb in the present, subjunctive, active, and passive, as well as the imperfect, subjunctive, active, and passive. Okay? So we're really focusing in on this subjunctive. So know the present, subjunctive, active, and passive, and the imperfect, subjunctive, active, and passive. Study your grammar questions there on pages 70 and 71, and also the ones on your workbook, page 166. They usually really focus in on the workbook, the grammar questions that they're going to cover on the test. Now, know your Latin saying from lesson 22, which is on page 70. Be able to translate sentences like the ones that we covered in class, but also the rest of those in there. And then study your handout on the syllabus, but focus in specifically on Jupiter through Apollo. Just those gods are the ones that we'll be covering on the test. And are there any questions? Okay, no, well, I will see you next Monday at 9. And be sure to email me if you have any questions. Thank you.